Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. We're live here from Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and my guest today is Professor Ngemi and naturally Graham Weatherspoon. We're in the smaller studio today, and I was expecting a roll-in, but we'll save that for later. What's happening in the world today? Graham, we haven't seen you in a while.
We haven't seen each other.
All right, we haven't seen each other since the convention in April.
Right.
It is May the 22nd.
Well,
How are you doing?
Doing better.
Okay.
You know, had some health challenges, but
Right.
thank God. Moving forward, I'm not being limited. You know, we've had a lot of things go on in the few months that we've been out of the studio.
Right.
Politically and socially and internationally. I don't know where to start.
Well, let's start with the recent case of the Romali Graham. You spent some time on that. I had a roll-in showing you investigating the bathroom. I wanted people to get an idea of how small of a space that was.
Mm-hmm.
And the injustice of them throwing the trial out on the
Well, no, the trial was not dismissed or thrown out. It was the grand jury proceedings, the indictment,
Okay.
which was dismissed by the judge. And he said that the grand jury was not properly charged.
Okay.
And it had to do with some statements with regard to Officer Haste and the officers that were with him. And I think one was a comment, someone stating there was a gun and his reason to believe that his life was in jeopardy.
Right.
And the judge said that the jury was not properly charged. If it had gone on and it was a trial, it might have been grounds for an appeal for Officer Haste if he were convicted. So, as I understand, this will preclude any appeal on the grounds of that. The case will be represented to the Bronx grand jury, but it's very interesting that out of the thousands of cases that are indicted in Bronx County, that here's one where you have a major case and the assistant district attorney cannot properly charge a grand jury. It leaves things to be very questionable and very suspect. And we see this consistently, whether it's Brooklyn and Kings County, Queens County with D.A. Brown, or here in the Bronx with D.A. Johnson. And it's a bit disconcerting. Constance Malcolm, Romali's mother, was very much overcome. You may have seen that on the news.
Yeah, well, she was at National Action Network last
Saturday, right. But she had to be taken to the hospital. What is not really looked at...
Remind people of the incident and how it happened.
Well, Romali and two other friends, or two or three friends, were going from one friend's house back to his block. He was going to pick up some things and then they were going to go someplace. These officers claimed they saw what they thought was a bulge of a gun. This was a year ago. It's wintertime.
Right.
You're not going to really see a bulge of a gun
Somebody wearing a big
with winter
jacket.
coats. You know, give me a break.
They said
So,
he was running to the house.
They followed him.
Videos.
They followed them for 3.5 blocks.
Right.
Now, I've done gun stops. It's wintertime. There aren't a lot of people on the street. You could definitely make your stop. And they had vehicles. Why would you wait for a person to travel 3.5 blocks and then turn into their house and now you want to go and check them out?
Right.
Two of his friends were across the street at an apartment building, and some officers intercepted them, checked them out, took them to the precinct. They had nothing. Romali, and it was reported that he was, they were in immediate pursuit of Romali. Romali entered the block from the west. The police entered the block from the east. So you can't be in immediate pursuit of somebody and you're running towards them. You're not pursuing somebody, you're running towards them. Romali reached his front door, turned, walked up the walk, looked to his right, he heard some commotion, didn't concern him, he put his key in the door and he went in the house. Now, NYPD put forth a video of a young man running in the street. That young man was not wearing the clothing that Romali was wearing.
Right.
It was video taken from another house down the street, but again, Deputy Commissioner Brown puts forth bogus information. It's always the attitude of NYPD to taint the individual and to save face, for NYPD to save face. So they got caught. They got caught lying. Thank God the owner of the residence had video cameras, and you saw the officers run up, kicking the door, kicking the door, kicking the door repeatedly. The law states that if an officer is in immediate pursuit, hot pursuit, he has the right to enter. These officers were not in hot pursuit. If Romali wasn't running, he was walking.
Really running.
He was walking casually down the street. Another thing, once an individual enters a premises, you don't know the layout of the premises. And you're not in immediate pursuit at that point because the door is locked and you don't know where they are in the building. The proper protocol for the officers and the sergeant who was on the scene was to call for emergency service, back up, surround the building, and have emergency service arrive. Now, it took them 5 minutes to gain access, and that was through the back door of the building when a little boy about 7 or 8 years old opened the door because somebody was banging on the door and his father told him to go and see who was at the door. And when he opens the door, these cops are standing out there in civilian clothes with guns in their hand. And they tell the boy to come out. And the father now is wondering what's going on. He proceeds to the back of his apartment, and he sees these people with guns, and he comes out. And they want to know about the guy that came in the building. He said, well, he lives upstairs on the second floor. But they still don't have access. So they come through his apartment, go through his apartment and go into the vestibule, which is common space. They are no longer, he gave them access to his apartment, but now they go from his apartment into the common space of the building. They go upstairs to the second floor and kick the door in. And when you enter that apartment, there's a narrow hallway. You either have to go left or right. Romali is coming from the living room and he ducks into the bathroom. And Officer Hayes goes to the bathroom door and shoots Romali Graham. Now that, you don't have 3 or 4 officers standing in the doorway of that bathroom because there's no room for 3 or 4 people to stand. He was shot just below his left clavicle, the left collarbone, and the bullet traversed diagonally through his body to his lower right back. Now, I examined the body following the shooting. A couple of days after the shooting, I examined the body. And if he was standing up, the bullet would not take a diagonal trajectory through the body to the lower right side. So I theorize that he was bending down and on an angle when Haste fired at him and the bullet moved downward through the body.
The door?
No, the door was open.
The door was open.
Now in the grand jury minutes it said that Haste said to him, "Show me your hands." So if I tell you, "Show me your hands," and you start to show me your hands and I shoot you, what is your reason for, what is my reason for firing?
Why was he in the bathroom? He ran into the bathroom?
He ran into the bathroom. Right at that point,
he had some smoke and he was trying to flush it down.
We don't know what he had, and if he did, it's not a crime.
Right. But it was about marijuana.
The entry The entry into the apartment was a violation of constitutional law.
But
5 minutes between when you saw him last and coming through that door of that apartment is not in hot pursuit. You are not in hot pursuit.
well, the police were chasing him for the case of he supposedly had bought some marijuana a couple of blocks.
The store that they went into was known for selling marijuana.
Well,
doesn't
it's a
mean he
marijuana
bought.
case.
Doesn't.
And he was shot
It's not a marijuana case. That's
Well,
it's BS case.
Okay.
Okay.
right.
Because they have no proof that he went in there and purchased marijuana.
Okay.
All right. They may sell marijuana there. That doesn't mean that he purchased marijuana there. He could have gotten a stick of gum. He could have gotten anything. And you can't make a presumption that a person is guilty just based upon location.
But my point was that he was shot for perhaps buying some marijuana.
Well,
In his own apartment?
they
In
started
his own
out.
apartment?
That's what I mean. This is
No.
it's so that's what's so jive about it.
You talk about a gun, and then you want to go. You can't go from gun to marijuana.
Yeah.
Marijuana is not a capital crime.
Yeah,
You can't shoot
exactly.
somebody for possession of marijuana,
Right,
and you
exactly.
can't shoot them for possession of marijuana in their house
Right.
if it's a joint or two. All right. Now, the police officers and their supervisor broke the law.
Right.
When a police officer is working and engages in a criminal act, he's no longer a police officer. You've had cops rape women. You had a case this past year
Right.
with 2 officers raping a young lady. You cannot be on duty, commit a crime, commit a federal crime, illegal search and seizure, and then kill somebody and revert back to being the good upstanding police officer who is a public servant. Because it's the fruit of the tainted tree. If the entry is illegal, everything substantive to that entry is illegal. The evidence would, anything found, discovered, would be illegal. And if you say, and every cop uses this line, I was in fear for my life. And I am saying this because I've been in situations where it wasn't I thought he had a gun, the guy had a gun. All right? And it's not one time, numerous times. I didn't shoot anybody. I didn't shoot. I was up in Harlem on 150th and St. Nicholas Terrace in a hotel, was shooting up in a hotel years ago. And we had the person who had been shot, and the hotel was like a labyrinth, a maze. I saw a guy standing at the end of the hallway just watching us moving around. And he had his hands behind his back. I said, let me see your hands. He doesn't move. I said, let me see your hands. He still doesn't move. So I reached for my weapon. I said, let me see your hands. And his hand comes down. He's got a 6-inch barrel .357 Magnum cocked in his hand. Now, he could have shot any one of us at any time. So now everybody focuses on him. I said, everybody just hold still. I'm taking the weapon. Nobody fires. And I walked up to the guy and I took the weapon from him. It was a weapon stolen from a New York State trooper. There were no shots fired. I've been in bank robberies where no shots fired.
Wow.
I've stopped and intercepted people on the street. No shots fired. But now you go into somebody's house and you say you're in fear of your safety and you shoot them when you had no business being in that house in the first place. And you cannot have it both ways.
Right.
Now, procedurally, with regard to the police guidelines, multiple violations. But we have to see how D.A. Johnson is going to proceed with the New York State statutes. And then there are federal statutes to look at.
And who takes care of the federal statutes?
Well, the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Okay.
And you could also have the New York State Attorney General get involved as well. You see. But it's going to have to go back to the grand jury. It'll have to be represented.
Let's get me involved with the Congo. I had a roll-in which it's really informative about the history of the Congo, and we'll see what happens with the Romali case. But Professor Ngemi hasn't been on the show in a while, and he's been back and forth to. Have you been to the Congo?
No, he can't go back.
I cannot go.
He can't go.
I cannot go. I'll be.
You have a warrant out
I'll be
there.
there. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
tell us what's been happening with you in the last month or 2, 3 months. When's the
Yeah,
last time
well,
you were on the show?
Yeah, since probably last year, but the situation in the Congo has worsened.
It was, what, 8 million last time we talked?
Right, so it's now over 9 million.
9 million people have died
Yeah,
in Congo.
over, right. 9 million people have died. The situation has gotten worse to the point where now even newspapers such as the New York Times
Mm-hmm.
are calling it a Holocaust.
Why isn't any exposure on ABC, NBC, MSNBC? Why isn't any? How come we don't hear about any of this stuff? The only time I talk about it is when I hear about it.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, let me quote from the little piece from the New York Times, because the New York Times has been quite a while lately. They've been dealing with the Congo because they exposed Susan Rice about the United Nations, that she used to be the to represent Paul Kagame's government with a company in Washington called Intelbridge before she joined the Clinton administration.
Wow.
So then when she joined the Clinton administration, now, since then she's been trying to protect Paul Kagame in Rwanda.
Right.
So
Susan
now,
Rice?
so now it came out in the New York Times.
Susan Rice is trying to protect
has been protecting Paul Kagame in Rwanda.
because of her involvement with this.
Well, she's been friend, and Paul Kagame has been a client of hers before even she joined the Clinton
Well,
administration.
that's on this rolling I had.
Right, but it came out in the New York Times. But then in 2010, in New York Times, there was an article written by Nicholas Christoph, who's been to the Congo many times, and he compared what's happening in the Congo to the Jewish Holocaust.
Holocaust in Germany.
All right, just a little piece. He said, "It is easy to wonder how world leaders, journalists, religious figures, and ordinary citizens looked the other way while 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust." The same thing you're asking that is happening in the Congo right now. You know, the politicians and religious figures and everybody looking the other way. The same thing they did with the Jewish Holocaust. Then he says, and it is even easier to assume that we'll do better today. Then he says, but so far, the brutal war in Eastern Congo has not only lasted longer than the Holocaust,
In World War II.
but also appears to have claimed more lives.
But
Now this is 2010.
throughout the planet, when there's some sort of ruckus going on, we have cell phones, videotaping whatever the event is.
Where did
Now, and this modern day communications, with all this vast stuff that we have, why aren't we seeing more pictures of what's happening in the Congo? This is not the Holocaust that was in the 40s. This is the
No, there's a
2000
Holocaust going on today.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
The
saying,
Congo
why don't we
Holocaust.
have more visuals? Why isn't there more publication of all this?
Why? Because just as he says that world leaders, journalists, and religious figures are not involved in showing it. That's why he says you would think we'll do better
But
today
how is that
with all these
possible?
means.
How is that possible? That's what I'm saying.
Well-
But the communications the way it is today.
It's not about communication. It's about policies. It's about policies. It's about why you are not doing something.
I can't see how you can hide something.
CNN, what's his name? Anderson Cooper, went to the Congo to do a story
Yeah.
a couple years ago. And it was about the guerrillas.
Yeah.
Not about the people.
About the guerrillas
That's right.
and saving the guerrillas in the
Yeah, I
Congo.
remember that.
Okay? Nothing to do with the people.
Well, let me give you another example. 60 Minutes. I think just last year, 60 Minutes went to the Congo, to Kinshasa, to do a story about a group of Congolese that have come together and put together a symphony.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that?
I saw that.
They showed where the people were living, the conditions, but they did not talk about why people live the way
In
they
that
live,
condition.
in those conditions. They did not talk about the 2 million, over 2 million women who have been gang raped in the Congo. They didn't talk about that. You don't think 60 Minutes knows about that? Or CBS knows about
They
that?
have to know.
If the New York Times knows about that, if the Washington Post knows about that,
Yeah.
CBS does not know it. So it's about
Let's talk about the money involved here. The wealth of the Congo, what, $24 trillion known wealth. The size of the Congo is half the size of the United States.
Well,
With how many? 60 million people.
well, guess what? Just
And we're just talking about eastern part of the Congo.
yeah, but when you talk about the East, where we've seen the short movie, The Crisis in the Congo,
Right.
Which I had a role in.
right? And now, but watch this. This month, this past month here going, a British a British member of Parliament, a lady, right? She uncovered where the guy who's president in Congo, so-called Joseph Kabila, who is a Rwandan and a former officer of Paul Kagame's army, he has embezzled, working with a guy, Gutler, who's from Israel. He has embezzled $5.5 billion. $billion of the Congolese resources, and then has been sending it through the Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, banks over there to wash it, to clean it,
Right.
and then send it back to England, to the stock market in England to make it
Invest in-
legitimate, and then divide it, share it with Paul Kagame of Rwanda. And Paul Kagame has his account in Australia, where he got, I think his sister, one of his relatives, a woman who has become a citizen there, and then he's married to a guy who got this dummy company, where they funnel all these billions of dollars coming from the Congo resources, Congolese resources. So, and because of that, even the World Bank doesn't want to give the Congo money anymore, because they see all these billions going out of the Congo.
Now we're talking about a country worth $24 trillion.
That's right. But people are dying.
And we're talking about 9 million people dying over the last 15
The
years.
last, the last almost
15
16 years.
16 years.
Yes.
Since we started.
Right. But
This coalition of yours.
but now, if we're calling it a Holocaust,
Right.
there has to be a Hitler behind it, who's killing
Kabila?
these people.
Who's Kabila?
Kabila is little Hitler.
Well, he's the front man.
Yeah, no, and he's also little Hitler because he killed. But Hitler of Africa is Paul Kagame.
To keep it this quiet,
Right.
communication-wise, the
Right.
corporations have to be behind this.
Not only
They have
corporations, but also
Nations.
politicals and nations. That's right.
Politics.
Right, because in America, as you know, Bill Clinton was the one who was behind Paul Kagame and Rwanda and Uganda and Burundi invading the Congo in the first place in 1996.
Well, they were all backed by Mobutu. They all backed Mobutu for 32 years.
Well, that was before they
was
decided to
Reagan
get
and-
rid of him. But they did,
Right.
before they decided to get rid of him and now get another group of people, those three presidents, Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi, to invade the Congo so they can control the resources in the eastern Congo. But what they did not know, what Clinton didn't know, actually, I would say that Clinton was made a fool by Paul Kagame, is that the Rwandan genocide was started by Paul Kagame. By
Rwanda.
the Rwandan genocide of
Tell
1994.
Tell us what years those.
1994.
94.
1994, Paul Kagame, they had a meeting in Arusha, in Nigeria, so they can have peace in Rwanda.
Right.
The president was Habyarimana, a Hutu, from the majority, because the majority in Rwanda is Hutu. Paul Kagame, being overly ambitious, knew that even though he signed a peace accord, with the peace accord he will never become president in Rwanda.
Not at all.
So he decided to shoot down the plane that was bringing back Habyarimana, the president. So that way he theorized, then the Hutu can start killing the Tutsis, so that he can come along, become the person who's going to stop the genocide.
94.
94.
94.
I thought the CIA was involved with that.
No, the CIA went there to train the Rwandan soldiers as they were preparing to invade the Congo.
Right.
Right. But at this time, actually, the CIA, we don't know whether it's the CIA, but the missiles that was used to shoot down the plane was provided from missiles seized by the United States through Uganda. They gave those missiles to Rwanda because Paul Kagame used to be also a member of the Ugandan army. Paul Kagame.
What a tangled web we weave.
Right. So then.
And this was a French plane?
A French plane,
right.
A French crew that was flying the plane.
Right.
That carried the. So then I think April 6, 1994, the team, first of all, Paul Kagame had a meeting with his officers, his close officers. They decided, okay, we got to shoot down the plane. They had a commando that we have now. Everything is on the internet now, including the confession of one of the major in the army that used to be actually a chief of staff of Paul Kagame, who has now defected to Europe. Another general of Paul Kagame, Kayumba Nyamwasa, he is now in hiding in South Africa under protective custody of the of South African army, because Paul Kagame sent a team to kill him. They shot him, but he didn't die, so he's now being protected. They have now come to say that Paul Kagame was responsible for the death of 3 African presidents. Habyarimana, and then I think Turiyamia of Burundi was in the same plane with Habyarimana that was shot down, and Laurent Kabila of the Congo.
Now, in this crisis...
So Paul Kagame is the one who is responsible for those 3 deaths and the 9 million of the Congolese that have died. So he's the African Hitler, Paul Kagame.
Now, in the crisis in the Congo piece that we've seen, and I was going to run a roll in so the people that are watching now and that haven't heard us in the past be updated. They talk about Obama's law that they passed in 2006 when Bush was president, where you withdraw funds from a nation that you're supplying funds, funding of nation.
I think it's
if they're accused of genocide or any of the other.
Yeah, I think it's law 109-456.
456, right.
109-456. That was
how we should be pursuing, or your organization should be pursuing the government.
The application of that law.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, not unfortunately, the law was passed in
206.
In 205, and signed by President Bush in 206.
Okay.
Right, when Barack Obama was senator. Right now, but this is
he sponsored the bill.
He sponsored the bill. Barack Obama sponsored.
Now that he's president.
Now he's president. But I tell you what, we actually petitioned Obama at one time not to apply the law in terms of army, because the law says that the United States is going to prepare the Congolese army so that it can protect the people from rape and all of that. And the State Department, the Secretary of State has the power to suspend financial aid to any country that is proven to be either involved in committing atrocities in the Congo or supporting any group that is committing atrocities in the Congo. Okay, so that's 2 of many other things that the law wants done in the Congo. Now, in terms of army, we petition the Barack Obama government to not train Congolese army because
they're Kabila's people.
Yeah, Paul Kagame and the so-called Joseph Kabila, both of them being Rwandans, the scheme they cooked up was this. Every time they send Rwandan soldiers in Eastern Congo, they start killing. Then the world says, okay, we want peace. They say, okay, they take these Rwandan soldiers, put them in a Congolese army, give them Congolese uniforms. So now when they kill in the Congo, then they say it's a Congolese soldiers killing and raping. That happened with one of the guys actually is now at The Hague, Bosco Ntaganda. He had to run for his life and went and gave himself to the U.S. Embassy in Kigali in Rwanda because Paul Kagame wanted to kill him because he had become too dangerous and too much of a liability for Paul Kagame that he wanted to kill him. So Bosco Ntaganda ran and went to the U.S. Embassy in Kigali, say, you can take me now. After so many years that Paul Kagame and Joseph Kabila never arrested him, he had to run for his life. So that's why we told Barack Obama's government, you cannot train the Congolese army because those who are involved in the Congolese army are the same Rwandan soldiers who have been killing and raping in Eastern Congo.
So how can anybody tell the difference?
They know the difference. Everybody knows the difference. Even the United Nations the contingent in the Congo knows the difference. Right now, even they're talking about it because it's begun to come out. M23, that is now involved in committing atrocities in the Eastern Congo. It came out New York Times, Human Rights Watch, everybody said it. The soldiers were being recruited in Kigali, in Rwanda, trained, given weapons, and sent to the Congo as M23.
Yes, but you can't look at a man and tell whether or not he's Rwandan or Congolese.
Most of them you can. In the Congo, in Eastern Congo, they can. Because the physical look, the phenotype of the Tutsis, most of them, is easily detected by the people who live with them in Eastern Congo.
So they can tell amongst each other who's who.
Right, yeah, most of them. Some of them you cannot. But
We couldn't tell the difference. I mean, we couldn't tell the difference.
We here, we cannot tell the difference, right? But the people live in the Eastern Congo. But not only that, beside those Tutsis and Hutus who have lived in the Congo for a long time, these soldiers that make up M23, number one, they don't speak French. Number two, they don't speak any Congolese languages.
Okay.
So the only language they pick is the Kinyarwanda, the language spoken in Rwanda, and English, and Kiswahili.
Oh, okay.
Because Kiswahili is spoken in that area in the Great Lakes region. Uganda, Rwanda, Eastern Congo, Tanzania, and Kenya. You see?
One question. What is the rest of Africa doing to help solve the problem that we're having in the Congo?
The rest of Africa?
They don't know, the rally we gave down at City Hall.
Right.
There was a guy there. They didn't know about it.
Exactly. But the rest of Africa cannot do anything unless their former masters in Europe tells them to be involved. Remember that all these African countries were colonies of Europe. And today they are still beholden to these European countries.
Receiving aid and different things.
Aid, and plus some of them are also engaged in the Congo in getting the resources and being paid because there's so much money to be made. These presidents in Africa, presidents in Africa are getting money from Paul Kagame and Joseph Kabila for them to stay away.
Yeah, it's interesting that Barack Obama would write legislation to protect the people of the Congo,
right,
and then turn around and bring Susan Rice in, or it was actually he didn't announce it. When Hillary announced that she was leaving and they were looking for someone to vet to take her place, Susan Rice stepped to the microphone before Obama declared her
Yeah.
as the replacement. But he stood up and defended her when she came under attack.
Right.
And it's
On
interesting.
Benghazi.
Right, on Benghazi.
On Benghazi.
Now,
Well, you had to. On
he
that.
had
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had to know about her involvement with Clinton.
Well, everybody, most of
Because he
everybody,
wrote-
Barack Obama, you know, has a broad in his administration worked with Clinton.
Right, because he wrote the legislation.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the woman who is facilitating
Mm-hmm.
the death of people to serve as Secretary of State.
Well, that's why, actually, we said, praise God, that Susan Rice did not get the position
Right.
of Secretary of State.
I don't think they wanted a woman in that position.
No, it's
period.
not about
Well,
women.
they've had
Hillary
women in there
Clinton was
before.
the right
It's
guy.
not about the woman.
It's not about the woman.
It's not about the
I
woman.
think so.
It's about
I really do.
No, it's about the Spirit of God intervening to say, if Susan Rice had become Secretary of State, the Congo would have been cut up, and because Paul Kagame.
Well, what's happening? What's the difference now with?
The difference
Secretary?
now is that Susan Rice cannot decide, is not the Secretary of State, so she does not have a major say, because Paul Kagame's aim has been to carve up the Congo, Eastern Congo, so he can annex the Kivus, or politically, officially. Economically, Paul Kagame controls the Kivus in
Right.
Eastern Congo, whereas Yoweri Museveni of Uganda controls the northeastern Congo, where he gets all this gold from the Congo. Economically, yes, but Paul Kagame's aim is to take it politically, geographically, so that it becomes part of Rwanda. So, and one of the things that was exposed in the New York Times was that when the report came out about M23, that is Paul Kagame and Rwanda actually putting it together and financing the Senate, Susan Rice intervened and said, no, we do not want to name Paul Kagame, we do not want to name Rwanda. So they had an argument with the French ambassador to the UN.
What year was this?
Last year,
Last year.
2012. Here they had an argument. So the ambassador of France, his name is Gerard. So this is what Susan Rice said. He said, Gerard, that's Eastern Congo. If it's not M23 killing people there, there will be some other group killing people. But don't worry about it. That's what Susan Rice said. It's Eastern Congo. If it's not M23, it's another group killing people.
With that attitude,
Yes.
you actually have this on.
Yeah, we have that. It's in the newspapers. We have that.
Hmm.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. And it's a quote I quoted here.
Well, what's the Secretary of State doing about the Congo now?
Well, John Kerry is the Secretary of State now.
Right.
Right.
And we're waiting to
Can
see.
you talk to him?
No, but we have sent him a petition already. He actually met with Dr. Mukwege.
Do you
Dennis
want him
Mukwege,
to apply?
that's
Do you
that's
want
the-
him to apply this Obama law or the one he sponsored?
No, would like to meet with him, with John Kerry, so we can sort out the issues, because he has to understand.
When you say meet with you, well, how many people are involved with that? What part?
There
of
are
Who do
many
you
groups.
represent?
Our group, Congo Coalition.
Okay.
There's another group right here, Apareco, that is also involved.
Okay.
And we have, in other words, you have Congolese groups in the diaspora that have been fighting.
All these
But
groups.
unfortunately, the political world outside do not call on us or ask us what's going on, what should be done. They go by what the mining companies,
money, what money says.
the mining companies, the companies that do public relations for Paul Kagame, who are giving millions of dollars of Congolese money for them to give these politicians, fund their campaign, for them to, as Susan Rice said, look the other way.
Right.
Look the other way while Paul Kagame, Museveni, and Kabila, they take care of the Congo.
Now, you were saying that John Kerry met with Dr. somebody?
Dr. Mukwege. Dr. Dennis Mukwege is a doctor who's been sewing these women in Eastern Congo. Every time they sewing them. Yeah,
Okay.
treating them. Every time they rape them, they gang rape them, they brutalize them, they rape them with weapons, with knives, and then they bring them to the Panzi hospital in Eastern Congo. He takes care of them. This Congolese doctor, you know, has become so famous that all over the world they want to hear from him. And actually last year they attempted to kill him. He was saved by his one of the security guard who actually died. So he got rescued. Then he came out briefly with his family, but he couldn't stay out. I met with him. He was crying. He said, Brother Lengi, I cannot stay outside. I know it's risky, but I have to go back. Who's going to treat those women?
In the peace crisis in the Congo, they say that's the worst place in the world
to be a woman or a girl. That's right.
Yeah.
So he went back now. But John Kerry met briefly with him when he was in Washington. And we are asking for John Kerry to meet with us, because this Holocaust in the Congo that has claimed 9 million people, what would Obama say? What would John Kerry say? What would be their legacy about the Congo, that this Holocaust was taking place, that these women and men and little children being slaughtered with machetes, with hoes? I mean, they're chopped. Little girls being gang raped. They gang rape her and then they carve out her genitals.
The visuals on this are vivid in our minds, but I'm sorry we don't have the roll-in to show you.
We have pictures, so maybe next time when we meet, we will show you the pictures of how...
Or Crisis in the Congo. You can go see this.
No, but Crisis in the Congo does not show all of those pictures I'm talking about.
They give you a better idea of what's happening.
They rape a woman, then they cut her in pieces. Then they take these pieces and the head and all of that, send it to the family. This is what the Rwandans who are working for Paul Kagame are doing in the Congo. And by the way, they did this in 1994 to their own people in Rwanda.
The Hutus and the Tutsis.
Paul Kagame.
See, most people look at that and say, well, that's people over there doing it to other people over there.
Yeah,
that's why people don't get involved.
Well, yeah, but watch this. That's like Christoph says, like Nicholas Christoph says. They did the same thing with the Jewish people in Germany. 6 million people died. Nobody wanted to intervene until the number got to 6 million.
Right.
You follow me?
It was covered up.
All right.
It was covered up. People don't know.
Exactly. So it's the same thing today with the Congo. That's what we're talking about. That while this is happening, you have media, major media, who are keeping it doing nothing.
That's what I don't understand. I don't see why nobody.
Well, the media also covered it.
Major media covers much of nothing. They cover entertainment. They cover more of entertainment and sports than anything else. Then you've got...
And plus today they are owned by all these multi-conglomerate companies that many of them are also involved in investments in mining in the Congo.
Illuminati.
So you got these financial interests that are interconnected. So therefore you don't even have the independent media that we used to have, maybe like in the 60s and the 70s. So, but the thing about it is that we have to sound the alarm that there's a Holocaust going on in the Congo. The Independent of London, the newspaper Independent of London, one of the reporters there by the name of Johan Harry went to the Congo in 2006, investigated, and called it a Holocaust in 2006. When he went back to England, he said that when Leopold II was killing 15 million Congolese, he said the British people and the American people rose up as one to demand that it be stopped. He said, but today's Holocaust taking place in the Congo, Americans and British people have kept quiet.
And the difference there again is communications. In Leopold's time, we're talking about the early
communication.
1900s.
Wait, if Morel in 1895
Right.
was able to galvanize the British people, and there was no communication like today.
Right.
If Mark Twain here in America was able to get American people, when he wrote the little booklet called King Leopold's Soliloquy, American people rose to demand that America intervenes to stop King Leopold II. How much more today with all the media we have?
Yeah.
So there's no excuse.
Why isn't something being done then?
There's no excuse. The same thing that the way they ignored King Leopold's Holocaust in the Congo until Morel started it, intervened, the same way they ignored the Jewish Holocaust in Germany. 6 million died. 6 million had to die before the United States and Europe came up and intervened to stop it. The same thing today. It doesn't matter whether you have social media. You have, wait, you have.
The war stopped the
Wait, you have,
genocide.
watch this. You have superstars in America, brother, who are going to the Congo and saying they want to stop the rape of the women, and they're very sorry for what's happening there. But guess what? When they finish, they go to Kigali, to Rwanda, to meet with Paul Kagame, who's the one in charge of killing people in the Congo. These people are being received by the White House, talking about, oh, they want to...
Who's being received by
these superstars, American superstars, who are talking about doing something for the Congo to stop child soldiers, to stop the raping of the women. But they do not want to expose Paul Kagame, Joseph Kabila, Yoweri Museveni, that they are the one who are actually the Hitlers that are making sure that people are dying in Eastern Congo. They don't want to call their name. They don't want to call these people, these leaders.
How can that be? I mean, I don't understand that.
Because they know that, for instance, if they call today that it's Paul Kagame who's doing the killing, they can't go back there anymore.
Okay.
You can't go back to Eastern Congo, because to go to Eastern Congo, you have to go to Rwanda. So if you call the name of Paul Kagame...
In order to go to Eastern Congo, you have to go through Rwanda?
That's right.
Why?
Because Paul Kagame controls Eastern Congo.
Okay.
And Joseph Kabila and
Paul... Oh, you're saying...
the president of the Congo, Joseph Kabila, is a Rwandan.
Right.
A former intelligence officer in the army of Paul Kagame.
Okay.
His name is Hippolyte Kanambe. When they invaded the Congo, they cooked up the scheme.
Okay. And
then they killed the Laurent Kabila, as the Rwandan general said now, revealed now that it was Paul Kagame that gave the order for Joseph Kabila to kill Laurent Kabila. So now Joseph Kabila, so-called Joseph Kabila, works with Paul Kagame so that Paul Kagame can continue to kill in Eastern Congo while Joseph Kabila is killing in Kinshasa. And so whatever resources they're getting, they're sharing the money together. So that's why anybody you hear here, I don't know, Ben Affleck or any of these other people who so-called have gone to Eastern Congo, the Ben Affleck of the world, if they expose that it's Joseph Kabila and Paul Kagame who are killing Eastern Congo, Ben Affleck can no longer go to Eastern Congo because Paul Kagame will not allow him to go there. So therefore, Ben Affleck has to keep his mouth shut as to who is responsible for killing the Congolese people in Eastern Congo. That way he can keep on going back, raising these tons of money to quote-unquote go help the people, but they don't want to stop the Holocaust. It's like saying, okay, it's not Hitler who's killing the Jews in Germany, so we're just going there to help the Jews who are being slaughtered. We want to give them some water, some food.
Then you really have to question.
But we don't want to call out Adolf Hitler who's killing them. The same thing the Ben Affleck do. And they don't want to expose. In the meantime, Paul Kagame continues to slaughter. In the meantime, the so-called Joseph Kabila continues to slaughter. In the meantime, Paul Kagame sends Rwandan soldiers in the Congo And then the world said, okay, Paul Kagame, Museveni, and Joseph Kabila get together and to bring peace in Eastern Congo. How can you ask the same people who are killing to bring peace? So what they do, now they say, okay, we're going to make peace. We're going to now integrate everybody in the army. They take these Rwandan soldiers, integrate them in the army of the Congo. So they become Congolese now.
So what's happening today? This is what's happening today?
This is what's happening today with them, because the latest group that Paul Kagame put together is what is called M23. M23.
Okay.
America said, Paul Kagame, you responsible because we know we have information they came from Rwanda. But America has not done anything to stop Paul Kagame from doing it. They're asking Paul Kagame. Barack Obama called Paul Kagame, telling him, well, you have to stop, supporting M23.
Wait a minute. You're saying, I'm sure you told me that last time.
Yeah.
The President of the United States actually called
Paul Kagame on the phone and told him to stop supporting M23. President Obama, Paul Kagame controls Eastern Congo.
So he ignored the president.
Why would he not ignore the president? Because Paul Kagame knows that Obama is not going to do anything to him. Because Obama knows that Paul Kagame controls the resources in Eastern Congo. Obama knows that Paul Kagame, Rwandan soldiers and militias, they want killing in Eastern Congo. Paul Kagame, Barack Obama should know that. If he doesn't know that, then the CIA is not doing its work.
Well, at least he called.
Yeah, but why would you? Well, it's like, look, it's like calling Adolf Hitler, saying, Hitler, stop killing the Jews and burning them in those ovens.
Well,
that's the same thing.
What would you have him do?
Tell Paul Kagame, get out of the Congo. Tell Joseph Kabila, get out of the Congo. If you don't get out, we're coming there. How big is Rwanda?
Coming where?
In Eastern Congo and kick you out.
Who's going to go in there and kick him out?
We Congolese, me, I'm standing, I'm sitting right here.
Okay.
Congolese people, brother, are
numerous
enough to go to Eastern Congo and kick the Rwandans out.
So
why it's not happening? Because the person as the head of the Congolese army is a Rwandan former army officer by the masquerading as Joseph Kabila, whose real name is Hippolyte Kanambe. He's at the top. So what happened? Watch this. You have a Congolese, for instance, a lieutenant with a unit, right? They go to Eastern Congo. They start killing and trying to push out M23. Joseph Kabila says, stop pursuing them. Well, stop pursuing them and pull back. Can you believe that? So now the Congolese army has to pull back because the head of the president of the Congo, Joseph Kabila, this Rwandan, says, don't pursue them, step back. So they step back. So now M23, these Rwandans guys, occupy all those villages, and guess what? They go from 3 o'clock in the morning, start killing. From 3 o'clock in the morning to 7 in the morning, going house to house, slaughtering children, women, old men.
What can we do?
What can we do? This TV station.
We got 4 minutes left. What can we do?
What we can do right now.
What's the solution?
The solution is to galvanize like Morel, like people like Mark Twain did in the early 1990s, to galvanize the people for us to call on Obama, to call our senators, to call our politicians that there's a Holocaust going on in the Congo. It has to be stopped. That there's a Holocaust, over 9 million have died. You have to intervene. More people have died or die every day in the Congo than die in Syria.
The President of the United States called Kabila and told him to do this, right?
No, tell Kabila to get out. Go back to Rwanda.
Is that what Obama called and asked him to do?
No. Obama called Paul Kagame, telling Kagame to stop supporting M23, which Paul Kagame needs for him to continue to get the resources in the Congo in the first place. So Barack Obama knows Paul Kagame is responsible for that. Paul Kagame is not going to stop supporting M23.
What short of supplying arms to a Congolese relief or whatever army you want to put together, you need arms from Obama?
No, brother, watch
invade the
this.
country?
Obama knows where that Joseph Kabila, so-called Joseph Kabila, is.
What do you
Watch
expect
this.
him to do? He going to send up the
Wait,
American
Obama,
army?
Obama can stop and block all the funds, the monies that Paul Kagame and Joseph Kabila is putting outside of the country. They can. America can do that.
Oh, he would have to go to the Congress and get this permission, wouldn't he?
Please, no, he doesn't need to. It's with an executive order. Because
an executive order.
Paul Kagame, watch this. The international law says when a leader is involved in committing a Holocaust or genocide, the whole world needs to get up. He doesn't have any immunity at all.
How is it that the World Court has not taken this up? You mentioned somebody had gone to The Hague.
Bosco Ntaganda, one of Paul Kagame's militia leader in Eastern Congo. Now watch this. He gets to, because they did with him like they do with everybody else. He's a Rwandan soldier, right? Once he goes over there, once they start asking where we need to arrest him, they say, oh, he's Congolese. He's not ours. Okay. So because he put on the Congolese uniform, right? They integrate him in the Congolese army. But now that he defected to the World Court because Paul Kagame wanted to kill him, he gets to the World Court, they ask him, okay, tell us your identity. He said, my name is Bosco Ntaganda. Where were you born? In Rwanda. Okay? In Rwanda. So what is your job? I'm in the army. Where? So what country are you a citizen of? Of Congo. Born in Rwanda. What language do you speak? Kinyarwanda.
Well,
you follow me?
We only have a minute left.
But yes, we need to sound the alarm.
Well, we're trying here.
Yes, and and John Kerry, Barack Obama, I'm going to try to get in touch with our senators we have in New York because they know the history of the Holocaust and then they need to do something about the Congo Holocaust.
Well, I just want to say thank you for coming. We're going to do more of these shows.
Yes, and we need to use those photos next time.
I had a whole role in, due to technicality, you would have had more visuals and you could have got I'm sure, the way we throw out names like this, it's more better if we rolled this role than I had. But as it is, we're in a smaller studio, and next time you see us live, we'll be in a better surroundings and with roll-ins, more visuals that you can better understand what we're saying. And the whole history of the Congo. I intend to put on more shows like this, so if any place you'll hear it here.
That's right.
On the Gilchrist experience. And I'd like to thank my guests today, Professor Ngemi, and always Reverend Weatherspoon. Anyway, thank you for coming to Gilchrist. The God in me loves the God in you. Thank you for coming. God bless.